Before we even get into it, I want to give a huge amount of credit to the team that worked ever so hard to bring over this great title over to consoles. I played this game over on PlayStation, and I'll be honest, it's truly a magnificent port. Little to no technical difficulties, and I was able to enjoy a very smooth and well-crafted experience. Something that isn't usually usual for these type of games that have been ported. Originally, games that were built for a PC being ported over. Another great port, just like Kingdom Come Deliverance, that was also brought over to consoles, a game originally made for PC. Now, I'm doing this review with conflicted feelings. You know, this is my first ever tabletop RPG style that I've ever played. I've played games of a somewhat similar style on mobile, but it was my first time playing a full game release on a console or PC of this make. Now, I did try the original Fallout and Fallout 2, but I personally wasn't able to get into it. Perhaps it had aged too poorly for me to stay engaged with that title. Now, discoelysium is a different beast. It has the benefits of being a modern title alongside using this old RPG 3D above looking down style. But there are things about this title that will leave you thoroughly annoyed or disappointed by the end of it all, depending on your perspective. I'll be honest, I was genuinely pissed and ended up deleting the game after I saw the credits roll. Not because the ending was horrid, but because it didn't deliver the narrative payoff I was also looking forward to. This review will hopefully let you know if discoelysium is the game for you, because by the time I reached its ultimate conclusion, I realized that discoelysium wasn't actually the game for me. Now, if you're somebody who's going to end up actually playing discoelysium, the first thing, and you could call this a disclaimer, discoelysium is absolutely unapologetically abstract in every single facet. And this ends up being the game's strength, or depending on your perspective, its weakness in some regards. Now, I'm writing this review to one, recommend this game to you because it is a good game. And secondly, it's to properly inform you what this game has to offer. I'll of course give you guys the usual breakdown, then I'll later give you a crucial aspect that will perhaps make or break the game for you. You're of course playing in a 2D world where you as the player are watching over your character move around from above. You play as a man whose name I won't spoil, who has succumbed to alcoholism, depression, and every sort of degeneracy that you can think of. You take control of this man after a drunken stupor, as you finally have to do the job that you were brought to Rivershore to do. Investigate the hanging of a man as a police officer of the RCM. As a police officer, you are assigned a partner, Kim Kitsuragi, who is a member of the police but from a different precinct. So this is your first time interacting with him. As you play the game, you'll get to know him a lot better. You'll learn to explore this deep-filled world to the brim. It's filled to the brim with depth and secrets to discover. Rivershore is not one big, bland, open-world map. In fact, it's a hub world that has so much depth, it was in fact daunting for me personally in the beginning few hours. Exploring a smaller but deep world is so satisfying as you not only learn secrets, you creep ever closer to solving the mystery of the hanging, meet interesting people, and perhaps more importantly, determining the type of person you are through your quest. If you're somebody who enjoys a narrative-driven RPG, this game was probably going to be for you. The game is dialogue heavy. Action is pretty much minimal, and this is all about the story. But I swear to you, you won't be complaining. This is by far the best game I've ever read. The voice acting in this game is out of this world, and so is the immaculate writing. I've never laughed so much while playing a game in years. The choices you make have hilarious consequences, but even reading the dialogue options you have available will get you going. The range of offensive and weird things you can say genuinely has no bounds. This is further enhanced as the inventory system is deep. The inventory items that you have equipped can directly alter the dialogue options or actions you have available to you. This can change the circumstances of many things. This game rewards you for exploration. Why? Because information is power. As you try to solve the case, the more you know, the more salt you can pour on the wound. Other than information and items, Disco Elysium provides a robust upgrade system. This is where you spend your skill points as you complete quests and dialogue. You can put your skill points into things such as logic, visual callus, encyclopedia, endurance, etc. This has varying effects. As you continue to play the game, you will realize that there are actually a few of them that are useless. And you will eventually realize that if you put too many skill points into a specific point, whether it's logical, it's empathy, whatever it is, you'll end up realizing that you'll end up getting some negative effects for that, because being an overachiever can end up actually hurting you. Because if you, for example, put more points into empathy and become an empath, as so commonly said today, you'll end up feeling the emotions of other people, and that will end up hurting you and can end up perhaps making you a little bit more mentally unstable. And yes, being mentally unstable can be a reason that you fail and get a game over. You have to watch that intently, not just your health. And of course, like every other game, being able to do this will give you other dialogue options. And aside from that, as you continue to explore the world, you will gain thoughts. And through these thoughts, you can end up internalizing them. And after internalization, you'll be able to get more dialogue options. Oh, and I haven't even mentioned this. Your thoughts. The dude you're playing as is probably a little bit insane, because he talks to himself more than anyone else in the game combined. Each individual upgrade tree has a mind of its own. Logic, empathy, they all come together to work together as your mind. And this is something that you need to know. Your mind isn't always going to be your friend. Your mind can definitely encourage you to sometimes make the wrong decision, or make a decision that's going to be just more fun. Like most other RPGs, this game also has skill checks. But unlike other RPGs, you roll the dice. Even if you have, for example, a 90% plus competency level for a particular skill check, you can still lose. No guarantees, buddy. Of course, you can save scum, which is the practice to try and reload a previous save, but I'd recommend you don't do that, and I'd recommend you to actually live with your failures. Reloading the save won't be as satisfying as you think, because some of the game's failure and you failing to complete a skill check can bring some of the game's best moments ever. And this brings me ultimately to the reason I even chose to make this review in the very first place. Preparing you properly for Disco Elysium. I don't recommend save scumming, because your goal is not the point of the game. By this I mean the murder mystery. This isn't a whodunit type of game. The murder isn't the point of the actual game, also the journey you have and the person you become along the way. Now, this is something that's commonly known as a MacGuffin. Not that commonly known, because I recently only found out what this actual term is called from causing a bit of a mess and causing arguments over in the subreddit, as I made my opinions on the game quite clear over there. Now, I knew what it meant, but I didn't know what the term MacGuffin means. This is, for example, a story where the journey or the friends we make along the way is more important than the actual conclusion or the goal that we're trying to achieve. That's essentially what Disco Elysium is supposed to be. But if you're playing the game, you might not catch that message during the entire experience. The gist I've gotten from others who have played the game is that the case wasn't actually important. Everything is a backdrop to the person you make along the way. This is a fair assessment, but I have to disagree pertinently. The murder case is clearly the motivation of the entire game. I personally didn't wake up excited to play Disco Elysium for social or philosophical commentary. The main character's dilapidated mind was a great and unique aspect, but we were learning the world alongside him, making this character our own by our own choices. But by the end of it all, the choices we made along the way were meaningless to finding the killer. There is only one way to deal with pivotal story moments, and by the time you reach the end, you'll be like, what? That can't be it. But that really is it, unfortunately. I wasn't expecting some grandiose ending, but the depth of the game was filled with was not applied in the murder case. I just find it ridiculous that the goal we were trying to reach this entire time was neglected or cast aside for some garbage, abstract ending about your journey. What? Hell nah, man. If the game perhaps had branching pathways to reach your goal, it would be a masterpiece in my book. You enter this game under the illusion that you're in an open field, but by the end of it all, you realize that you were actually on a railroaded roller coaster. You were never free in the first place. Now that we've gone over the key elements of the game, I also want to give you guys key and important stuff about Disco Elysium from a patient gamer perspective. Let's get into the value section of the game. You can't currently get Disco Elysium on any of the subscription packages available as of today, PS Plus or Game Pass. So if you want to play this unique title, you've got to do it the old-fashioned way. But before we do that, let's get and discuss how much gameplay time Disco Elysium is going to give you in the first place. Now, from a gameplay time perspective, you're definitely going to be getting your money's worth for sure. In terms of the main story, you'll be getting 23 hours available to you. If you do the main quest and substantial side content, you'll get about 32 hours. In my first playthrough, I actually probably did around, that's about 25 hours around there. There are a few side quests that I didn't end up completing, but on my second playthrough, I definitely will be getting more into that. Now, if we're talking in terms of the paper, the greasy, let's grease our pockets a bit, man. How much money are you going to have to spend to get Disco Elysium over on PC? If you head on over to GG Deals, the lowest you can get if you look out for a sale on official stores is $7.99, and if you get it from a key shop, you can get it for $5.21. So this is something you need to keep in mind. This is definitely an indie title. It's an abstract game, and because of the style that they used, they didn't use a conventional 3D game. It definitely is on the cheaper side, so you'll definitely be getting value for money. Now, if you look over on PlayStation, just like me, if you're looking over to get the game on PlayStation, just like I did, you'll be able to get it for a pretty low price. Let's start off with South Africa. If you're living down here in South Africa, just like me, the lowest price, if you look out for a good and favorable sale, is 251 Rand and 65 cents, a pretty affordable price right there. And if you're over in the United States of America, USA, you're working on the dollar, you'll get it for $13.99. Definitely not going to be breaking the bank at all. So if we consider this game from a value perspective, as a patient gamer, this is not a bad decision at all. You're getting a pretty substantial amount of gameplay time as 24 hours, an entire day of content for a pretty low price. Now, if you're looking for a final rating from me, I'm giving Disco Elysium a 7 out of 10. Disco Elysium is still a great game, but I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, not because it's bad, but because there are parts of the game that are genuinely frustrating. And I know people in the comments and in the subreddits and the Reddits will make arguments that, no, it's a MacGuffin. The murder case was never important in the first place. There are hours and a lot of time that you will spend particularly focusing on the murder, particularly focusing on inspecting the body, particularly focusing on interrogation, trying to find out who done it. And then at the very same time, you're going to say that it's all about the journey. I'm sorry. More time and effort and something should have been done and poured into the murder case to make it a better game. Now you can agree, you can disagree, it is what it is, but those are my thoughts on the game. I would still greatly recommend Disco Elysium to you, but all I would say is that if you're going to play Disco Elysium, go on with your expectations tempered in terms of the murder case. Try and enjoy the journey more than the ultimate conclusion or finding out who actually was the person who did the murder. Don't worry about that. Focus on the journey. And the interesting thing is that I'm saying this, but it's kind of conflicting because that's the motivation for the story, guys. Like, let's not ignore that. The murder is the motivation for the story, and it's the reason you're going to hop up and play Disco Elysium every single day. So that's why personally I've got to give it a 7, because the ending is absolutely lackluster, and that's how important an ending can be, bro. An ending, no matter the form of media entertainment it is extremely important. Whether it's Attack on Titan, whether it's Naruto, whether it's Bleach, whether it's this game Disco Elysium, the ending carries a huge amount of weight. You can do as many tricks in the air, but if you don't stick the landing, you're gonna be soured by the entire experience. So guys, those are my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts down there in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? This was my Patient Gamer review of Disco Elysium. I'm Explicit Sage. Enjoy the rest of your day.